We're going to get right into it, man. We're not going to waste no time. Let's talk about it. SEC championship. As you can see, Bama outclassed, outcoached UGA. Let's talk about some of the things that went wrong and some things that went right. Here we go again. Man. When everything seems right, I don't believe in no Georgia sports curse or none of that, but man, when everything seems right, it's amazing sometimes. It's amazing how a Georgia team can make it all go wrong. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Bird Dog Brave Talk. I am MANDOWN Zoe, 1/5 of the MANDOWN podcast. And we here today to talk about the SEC championship game that not too long wrapped up. Just saw the trophy presentation. Yeah, I watched it. But, Bama outclassed, outcoached, out everything Georgia this game. But it didn't seem like that was going to be the case within the first quarter. Let's talk about it. First and foremost, let's give Bama some props. That offensive line played spectacular against that front seven of Georgia. Really the front four, because we really didn't put a whole bunch of pressure on them, which we'll get into later. But my goodness, from last week to this week, they look like a whole new offensive line. There are some things that, we could have done to probably expose that a little bit better, but we didn't. And they took advantage. Bryce Young, man, listen. In a couple of years, I don't know if he's a redshirt freshman or not, but in a couple of years, that guy's going to be the top quarterback taken in the draft, either next year or the year after that, especially if he continues to play. He's definitely the Heisman, in case anybody was living under a rock and had somebody else as the Heisman up until today. Today, he probably convinced you that he is that. Give him credit where credit is due. Mel told me he has some Deshaun Watson in his game, and I can see that. Maybe I can't mention that name or shouldn't mention that name considering what he got going on, but it's true. The play styles are similar. He uses his feet well, but he's a quarterback. He uses his arm. He uses his feet in order to use his arm most of the time. Yes, he can be mobile, as we saw. Ran in a touchdown after Bama went on a 17-0 run in that second quarter. Ran in the touchdown, was able to use his feet enough to get into the end zone. But, man, if you give that kid time, he is going to carve your defense up. He's going to carve your defense up. A couple of things I want to point out that probably allowed him to have that time to carve up Georgia's defense. Oh, yeah. Bryce Young also 421 passing yards, most ever from a quarterback in an SEC championship game. Just another feather in his cap, another accolade to add on to the many that he's going to win this year. But part of the reason why he was able to have that much time is because Georgia typically can get pressure with that front four. Sending that maybe one other rusher at that time, but that front four normally gets the job done. It has gotten the job done all season. But trust me, Nick Saban saw that as well. And he game planned perfectly for it. When they did get pressure early, Bryce Young, they had routes for him. He got the ball out quick and concise. But the first couple of drives, we 3 and out of them. We were able to not only get pressure, but they weren't able to run the ball consistently, which nobody has. But they weren't able to run the ball consistently. And we did just enough. A couple of those plays, I think the first shot he took to Jamison Williams was more so a Jamison Williams mistake than great coverage by the DBs. And it makes it look like everything they said about Georgia's back half of that secondary, make it sound like it's true. I have a different opinion. I think Bama's offensive line, as I stated earlier, played phenomenally. They were great. They played phenomenally. They were 10 times better than they did against Auburn, might I add. But part of the reason for that is because Georgia, being Georgia, was kind of stubborn. Once they didn't get pressure with 4, They would try 5 every once in a while, but there was limited on the blitz. They did not send 6. They did not move those linebackers around, not until like the third or fourth quarter when they absolutely had to have stops. And I think that's stubborn. I think that's ridiculous if you're not getting there and this quarterback is carving you up the way that he's carving you up. You have to find a way to generate pressure. I'm not talking about sacks because Bryce Young is pretty nimble on his feet too. I don't care about the sacks. But if you notice, once the game, I don't know if it was decided, I think it was 38-24. We got the stops that we needed and the offense could not convert. But we were getting stops in the second half. We were getting stops. That's because we were sending 6 every once in a while, moving our pass rushers around, getting pressure generated. That way he had to make a quicker decision than just sitting back in the pocket and picking us apart in whatever zone that we were in that back half. Also, a couple of other things that I think Kirby has to make a decision, or somebody has to make a decision. The teams that have scored against Alabama typically haven't been teams that are run-heavy offenses. And they typically have a guy that can get the ball downfield. Not saying Stetson played horribly. Yes, he threw that pick 6 with that. I think it was he thought it was too high safety, and it was actually a robber. And after the snap, he saw it pre-snap. Post-snap, he didn't even look back that direction, and that robber was just standing there waiting for the pass, jumped in front of it, kind of like Nakobe Dean did against UAB or whoever it was. Jumped the route, took it back to the house. That was all on Stetson. But the pick that he threw when he was trying to get it to Brock Bowers, who is a man-child, Brock kind of gave up at the end of that route and didn't expect the ball, and he got there kind of late. Stetson kind of threw it to where he was going to be if he would have continued that route, and it led to a pick. So Stetson was not horrible. But JT Daniels is the better thrower of the football. He is the better NFL prospect when it comes to being a quarterback. He has a possibility to test that Alabama. He had a possibility to test that Alabama deep half, something that Stetson really didn't do accurately. We took a lot of 10 to 15, nothing over 20. And even though he was the most efficient quarterback in the SEC when it comes to passes over 20 yards, he didn't take a whole bunch today. And I think that's because that Alabama's front 7 was getting there. They were moving him around a lot. And he, unlike Bryce Young, when he gets to moving around, if he got time to sit in the pocket, he can hit the shots too. But he didn't have the time. They were sending however they needed to. They were moving Will Anderson all around. He went from, a hand in dirt DN to a stand-up linebacker on the right side. He was moving all around. And they were generating pressure on Stetson Bennett, something that, we didn't do on the other side of the ball. So I do want to say that Stetson didn't play horribly. However, if I'm Kirby Smart, I'm taking a long look at JT Daniels and considering starting him above Stetson if he's healthy, because we still don't know what's going on with JT. Stetson did right out win the job by doing exactly what he was supposed to do when he was supposed to do it, winning games that were winnable, but a lot of that was due to the defense. I'm eating my crow. I'm giving Alabama their props. I'm not so much worried about this game. I'm just worried about the decision making. And the reason I said we were out coached is because Saban would be willing to make a quarterback change if he felt like it would give him a better chance to win. They were only down 24-20, I think, when he made the change to Jalen Hurts in the game and in the second half, and he came back and beat Georgia. He's willing to make that change, and 2 on the sideline. They were happy for each other. And I think that this Stetson Bennett story is almost too good to be true. Guy's a walk-on. Comes on, he's a scout team quarterback. He plays as Baker Mayfield. That's when his legend began to grow. Left Georgia, went to JUCO, got a scholarship at a JUCO, balled out at a JUCO, came back to Georgia on scholarship. Wasn't the first guy, wasn't the second guy. We had started DeJuan Mathis last year over Stetson. Eventually, with injuries and everything, he got his chance. He seized the opportunity. He played well enough to start. He started all the way up until I think the Florida game, if I'm not mistaken. Then he lays an egg. We play Alabama. I think we stick with Stetson. He plays Alabama, and they do what they do. Plays well for the first half, and they came back again the second half and did what they do. So I'll be taking a long look. Kirby got to be willing to make these decisions. to sit his guy in these big games. Because if he's not, then we're going to be seeing more of the same. And then it's going to become the label of, okay, Kirby's a great regular season coach. He can recruit his behind off, but he can't win the big game. And let me ask y'all a question, man. Is this a big brother, little brother thing where he just has the mentality that he can't beat Saban? I think Saban's 4-0 now against Kirby. This season, this year, this team, I still feel like it's the better team. We did not make the better decisions and we did not play like it today. I still feel like it's the better team. And luckily, we took care of business all through the regular season enough to get into this Final Four of the playoffs. So we'll be that number 3 seed or that number 4 seed. I'm thinking the 3, because just like my homie Jay said in a group chat earlier, that, you know, the money game is this game again. Who's going to be tuning in? Let's be honest, to a Bama Cincinnati national championship. I am, because I'm a sports dude. But the money, we know where the money at. A Bama UGA again, in for all the marbles, is definitely driving those ratings all the way to the roof. And it'll definitely be something that I live stream probably. But so I'm thinking we might get a chance to see them again. If we don't adjust, if we aren't willing to adjust, if we aren't willing to change our philosophy against a team that carved us up when we were just sticking to the same thing that got us there, then it's going to be more of the same. If we're not willing to at least look JT Daniels' way and give him an opportunity to make some plays, even the last 2 minutes of the game today, I was thinking, well, hey, we're not going to win this game, clearly. Let's get JT some reps. Let's get him some live game action in the event that we have to go to him in the playoffs, because guess what? Stetson Bennett is not going to win the big game against a great opponent. Let's just call it what it is. He's won every game this season as pretty much the starter. JT started a couple of games, but he's won every game this season. That's because everything we did on defense was working. We were shutting teams down. It was easy. He got shot after shot after shot, chance after chance. You're going to win if you're getting pressure with 4 every single game. We did not get pressure with 4. That concerns me, because everybody that we could potentially play is looking at this tape saying, how did they contain Georgia's front 4 or front 7 overall? And they'll see, oh, they only sending 4 for most of the game. Once they started sending 5 and 6, most of the time we got pressure, at least move him off the spot and made it difficult for him to throw the ball. We're going to have to continue that. If we can't get pressure with 4, we got to get to that quickly. And if Stetson is missing throws like he did early in this game, you know, letting opportunities go when we were gashing them in the run game, he has to hit those passes. He has to throw the ball accurately. He has to be better. And I don't know if he has that. I'm questioning whether he has it. But the bottom line is this. Kirby Smart has to make those decisions and to decide whether he has it. He has to make the decision to send more passes. Him and Dan Lanning, him and Todd Monken got to get together and be like, look, is JT the guy? Is he going to be the guy that gets us over that hump? If not, it's going to be more of the same. Kirby's going to recruit elitely. I even seen recruits tweeting like, yo, put JT Daniels in the game. Everybody knows he's a better thrower of the football. Stetson can do more with his legs, but he's not a dynamic runner, quote unquote, so to speak. He's a good runner. He's a good runner, and he can do some things with his legs that JT Daniels isn't known to do. But there's no question who's the better thrower of the football is. I think we have to kind of consider it. I think Kirby has to consider it, especially if he doesn't want that label of being the guy who couldn't win the big one. So we got Mark Richt out of here. I love Mark Richt, but let's call it what it is. That's all for today. I'm definitely going to be tuning in to see exactly what it is that's going on. Make sure y'all like, subscribe. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and share this post. Make sure y'all tuning in to MANDOWN podcast every Tuesday between 9 and 9:30. We're streaming that on Facebook and on YouTube. And plus, you can go to anywhere you listen to podcasts and go ahead and catch up on those old episodes. I'm MANDOWN Zoe, man. I got to get out of here and catch the rest of this Michigan Iowa game to see who we're going to be playing in this college football playoff. Peace out.